Hi, I'm Professor Green, and welcome to BCOR 1910. We're so excited to have you here. This is called Business for Good. We're in week one. We'll be spending about 15 weeks really understanding what it means to create an idea into a business plan for low-income, low-poverty populations. So let's go ahead and get started. The first slide here gives us a little agenda for what we're going to be doing today. We're going to first go through the introduction, which is just this, the agenda, and talking a little bit about what BCOR 1910 is. Then in a minute, I'm going to go through the overview of the course. So I'm going to review the syllabus a little bit of Brightspace. I'll break that apart. I'll do probably a third or a half of that of both the syllabus and Brightspace today, and then I'll continue to do that next week. Then we'll quickly move into a pairing off activity called a pair share. I'm going to review the SDGs with you if you are not familiar with them already, the Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations. You will be while you're here at LMU. At CBA, we're very familiar with the SDGs, and this is a great place to get introduced to them. So I'll put you into pairs, and we'll talk about what your most favorite, I guess, SDG is, or which SDG really speaks to you the most, and then you'll have your partner introduce you to the group. Then I'll talk about the key distinctions of the course, how this course is really different from other courses that you'll take here at LMU. And then we'll talk about the group project, what the deliverables are. It's really the main focus of the whole course. And we'll get into our breakout groups so you can meet your group members. And at the end of the class day, we will have a short quiz. I guess it's called a pop quiz, even though in future weeks, we will always have a quiz. It won't be so surprising, but the questions will be surprising. I won't release the questions until the end of the class. And then, of course, I leave a few minutes for Q&A. So I'm looking forward to getting started with you. Let's go ahead and talk about Brightspace and the syllabus. In the syllabus, I'm going to review three things. I'm going to go through my CV, why I'm qualified to teach BCOR 1910 and how I got here and why I'm passionate about working with low poverty, low income populations. I'll talk to you a little bit about the course modality, the netiquette, and expectations for classroom behavior. Then I'll hop into Brightspace, which you're probably all familiar with, but I'll just review it for this course, and we'll talk about the content modules, the assessments, the discussions, the calendar, see there's a typo there, and the groups. So as I said, we'll talk about half of the syllabus in this class, and then the other half next week, and then about half of Brightspace in this class, and then about half of the functionality for Brightspace for this course in the next class. So let me go ahead and pop out and jump into my syllabus. You'll see that it is on Brightspace. Whenever you click into Brightspace, here under content, under introduction to the course, this is exactly where you'll find the syllabus. I already opened it up. Obviously, I have it open all the time because this is a daily activity for me to hit the syllabus and review what we're doing, as well as to make updates. In the syllabus, you'll always find the links to our Zoom classes. Obviously, I teach two sections, both on Thursdays. So just make sure you're clicking the link for the correct section. We have our CBA mission, which I'm actually going to go through because it is so important to this course. We advance knowledge and develop business leaders with moral courage and creative confidence to be a force for good in the global community. And this is the mission, for the business school here at LMU. And you can see that immediately within the first couple of words, when we talk about CBA, we're talking about a force for good. And that's why this course is so important to the curriculum here at LMU. We're really getting down to the bottom of the pyramid, the people who are of lowest income, really low poverty, and seeing if we can come up with ideas and create businesses that could help benefit them. Here in the syllabus also, I have a link to my CV, which I'm going to go through in just a minute. You also have my email address, which is a great way to get in touch with me. I'm always available. I have my cell phone, obviously, always with me. And I usually get back to emails within 3 or 4 hours. So a really great way to connect with me. Also, if you'd like to see me in person or on Zoom, you're welcome to set up a Calendly session with me. So if you click on that link, it takes you to my Calendly, and you'll see that there are times and dates every day of the month where I have times available for you to meet with me. You just click on the day, you find the time. It's very often early in the morning because I have a 4-year-old and he wakes up early and or goes to school in the morning. So, but throughout the month, obviously the times change depending on the day. So you can just choose a time, and I'm happy to meet with you individually. You'll also see that there's a note here about picking up a syllabus during the first 6 weeks of the class per the schedule on Sign Up Genius. This link for Sign Up Genius is in Brightspace because I had to do it per section. And what that is you're going to come in and see me actually in real life in my office in Hilton 210B. And that is a place where we can chat and catch up and hear more about your goals for your time here at LMU. It's a 30-minute session. You don't have to come by yourself. In the Sign Up Genius, I have 3 time slots for you to sign up at one time. So you're welcome to come with a friend. But during the first 6 weeks, I want to see you in person. Yes, we will be meeting as a class twice within the first 6 weeks, but I want to see you as an individual. I really find this very important. It's a really great benefit to going to a private school and having a small class so that we can really get to know each other. As I said, the Sign Up Genius is in here in Brightspace, also under Introduction to the Course. And you'll see here, depending on your section, section 10 or section 14, there's a sign up for in-person professor meeting. When you click on that, then you have your Sign Up Genius. As I said, 3 time slots available for each of these slots. I made times available on Thursdays and Fridays for the next 6 weeks or so. I had to alternate between the 2 sections, but as you go through, you'll see the handful of different times and dates that are available. So please find a time. If Thursdays and Fridays don't work for you for some reason and you need another time, please let me know and we will set that up. I'd like to do that in person if possible. So, and I'm always on campus on Thursdays and Fridays, but I'm also on campus on Wednesdays, and I'm happy to set up a time for you with that as well. So coming back to our syllabus here, let's go ahead and go through my CV. So who am I? Who's Professor Green? And I opened up my CV here. Hopefully you can see that. And I'm going to leave it here. Hopefully I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. There we go. So why am I qualified to teach BCOR 19 and why am I passionate about this course? And that's going to develop into our pair share, which is our next activity. You're going to tell me why you're prepared to take this course because somebody said that you have qualifications, whether it be critical thinking skills or an interest in the CBA mission, for example, and you're going to apply those to the SDGs. So how does my background apply to the SDGs? So first, you'll see that I graduated from Villanova University. I am a practicing Catholic, but more than that, I am passionate about social and justice work. I found that passion at Villanova when I went to a Catholic university. And so that's really enabled me to find those opportunities to volunteer with Habitat for Humanity, to go on mission trips throughout my life, throughout Latin America, to India. And and it really gave me a passion for helping the people who live in poverty. As you'll see from Villanova, I graduated with a degree in civil engineering. I was at the time, and still am, very passionate about the real estate industry and building. I was passionate about water resources and transportation, setting up highways and bridges and buildings. That's another SDG that will show up, infrastructure. After Villanova, I took some time and I worked, which we'll go through in a minute, where I worked in the construction industry and then in the banking industry. And eventually I went back for my MBA about 5 or 6 years later. I went to the Thunderbird School of Global Management, which focuses primarily on international business. Here at LMU, I also teach international business to the MBAs. And as you'll see, many times I'll talk about my travels and my 3 different passports. I grew up with a mother from the Czech Republic and a dad from Switzerland. And my son now is working on his 4th passport. My father-in-law is from Poland. And so I consider myself a global citizen, and also really a nice way to connect with this course because we'll study a lot about not just low bottom of the pyramid, low poverty here in the United States, but also abroad, Tanzania, Latin America, etc. After my MBA, I went to New York and I worked for Citibank and moved into the banking industry, which I'll go through in just a minute. But when I was in my late 30s, I decided that I really want to focus explicitly in how organizations communicate and how they spread messages across the organization. And although I studied that in my MBA, the MBA is somewhat broad. And so I wanted to really focus on just strategic communications or organizational communications. And so I went back to school, got a second master's from Pepperdine, and I got a master's in arts, which gave me a really nice foundation to doing research and understanding how people think and how organizations work. And how that has prepared me for this course is that we will do a good amount of research. I will have Jose Rincon from the library speak to you a little bit about how the best ways to do research, how to find out demographic information, how to find out how many people live in Tanzania, how many people are in poverty in Tanzania, etc. Besides my education, I have some certifications. I teach hybrid. As you'll see, I can teach on Zoom and in person at the same time. I did focus, because I focus in communications, I have done some things in social media, learning all different types of methodologies, and I teach yoga as well. During this time when I was a grad student, I also became a yoga teacher and produced some yoga DVDs, which was a really exciting time in my life. So what did I do professionally before I came back to teach? You'll see that I've been a clinical professor here at LMU for the last 2 years. I'm somewhat new to LMU. I became a professor later on in my career. You'll have professors that are PhDs and went into teaching in their 20s right away. And some of us are clinical professors. So we worked for 15, 20 years, and now we're back in the classroom. Before I taught at LMU, I was an adjunct professor at Pepperdine, my alma mater, both in the business school as well as in the School of Communications. And before that, I was a professor at Compton College, which has truly set me up for this course. At Compton College, about 60% of our students come from a background of being incarcerated. It's a school that really recruits heavily at people who have come out of prison. We also speak very much to low income. Many of my students were homeless or while taking my class were on food stamps, etc. So it was a really eye-opening place for me to understand where those populations, how they live and work today, just 10 miles down the road. As I said, I've traveled to India, to Latin America, Panama, Costa Rica, to understand these populations, but doing that in the United States in recent years was a really great experience and has really prepared me to teach here in BCOR 1910. As I said, before I taught, I was also a grad assistant at Pepperdine while I did my second master's. And before that, I spent many years here. This is this blue IG Consulting as a business analyst and project manager. I had a handful of different clients, which again, I'll review in just a minute. And then before that, I was with Citibank. That was after graduation from Thunderbird for my business degree. And before that, between undergrad and grad in my MBA, I worked for the Clark Construction Group based out of Bethesda, Maryland, in Washington, D.C. as a project manager, as an engineer, implementing the software that we used to run large construction projects. I was actually a software trainer for a good portion of my time, talking to engineers, architects, and contractors about how to use computers and software to run their projects. I've been to a handful of academic conferences and presented on things about developing nations. I did a case last year about Nestle and how they were helping in Africa to get the COVID vaccine there. I've also done talked about Ebola and how that came out of Africa in 2014. And I also talked about mindfulness as well, because that's a passion of mine. Here are some more details on my professional background. Going from the beginning, as I said, I worked for Clark Construction, both in Bethesda, and then they transferred me out to California. After business school, I went back to the East Coast where I actually was born in New York as a business analyst and project manager. And here is where I spent a lot of my time as a professional. I worked for Salesforce.com, Credit Suisse, another large bank, working in Zurich. As I said, my dad is from Switzerland, and so I spent a lot of time working abroad. I worked for the Penske Media Group. If you're into car racing, Penske is a big name. Also, if you're into the entertainment business, I worked for, they are the holding company for Variety and a bunch of, a handful of different publications for the entertainment industry. I worked for Merrill Lynch, Charles Schwab, all the major large banks, Kaiser Permanente. And a large client of mine here you can see is pistachios, Fiji water, Halo oranges. This is all part of what's called Pa Wonderful, or known as the Wonderful Company. And I was the director of mindfulness and wellness at their headquarters here for about 10 years in West Los Angeles. And as you can see here, here's my professional and teaching experience as well. So just to give you a little bit of, that was just a little bit of overview. I'm happy to go into any details during my office hours as to what it is that I've done in my career, but I thought that would be helpful to talk to you a little bit about who I am and how that has prepared me to teach this course. So let's then jump back into the syllabus. How is all of this going to affect you? Here you can see that in the syllabus, there are no prerequisites. You're a freshman, so you didn't have to take any courses, but you did have to get accepted to LMU. So you have critical thinking skills, you have probably a passion for what LMU does, and you have a passion for business. And so combining all those things here prepares you to take this course. As you said, we meet over 15 weeks for an hour and 40 minutes. It's a variety of means: lecture, as I'm doing now, exercises, an in-person simulation, and real-time virtual interviews. You'll be graded on attendance, completing classwork, participating in discussion, contributing to that group project, as I mentioned. There'll also be some individual projects that you'll contribute and that I'll grade, and that we'll use peer review software to grade. There'll be quizzes, as I mentioned, and I'll also provide feedback on all of your submissions. It says here 7 to 10 days, but usually my feedback is usually within 24 hours. And if you'd like to watch me reviewing the whole entire syllabus, in a video, I have that here as well. As I said, I kind of piecemeal together the syllabus, not to make it too dry and boring in this one class. It is technically a fully online class, but as I said, we do meet a handful of times in person, and I will review that in the course schedule in a few minutes. Please do not schedule anything during your class time. When you come in, please be fully present and rename yourself on Zoom. So hopefully that gave you a good introduction to the course. Let's go ahead and take a break here and jump back into Brightspace. And so when we go into Zoom, please rename yourself with your first and last name. That's very helpful for all of us to get to know you. Weekly attendance is required. Please have your camera on to show that you're present. Please find a quiet place. If there's a reason why you can't turn on your video, you need to email me ahead of time. And yeah, please private chat when pausing your video. So let me know if you need to pause your video for any particular reason during the class. I have a link here that I love about tips on Zoom etiquette. I won't play it now, but I highly recommend that you click on it and take a look at it. 10 tips for better video conference calls. When I was at Compton College, I actually taught public speaking, and that was primarily on Zoom during the pandemic. So public speaking is really important, and that doesn't mean in real life necessarily. There are really great tips to how to make your presence professional and well-known here on Zoom. So I'll probably show tips and pieces of that throughout the course, but if you have a moment, please look at that. Great. I'm going to go ahead and pause and stop the video here. As I said, we still need to go through some communications and expectations and then hop into Brightspace, but I will create a separate video for that. And again, thank you so much for joining me here in BCOR 1910. This is week 1, part 1 of our class. Thanks, and I'm Professor Green.